Hello. So I have a question, a challenging question for you to ask. It's a good question for you to ask. It's simple. It's a simple, easy word question. But there's many of you that have tried to answer this question. People have fought in wars for that, gave up their lives for this question. What question you might ask is it, what does freedom mean to you? It's not something you can answer, a sentence you find in a book. And we've discussed what does freedom mean to you. But if you focus in on you guys, on you, and then you ask what does it mean to yourself. For myself, I found that it could change my life. So my wife and I sat down and we were discussing this question. So when my daughter was born, when we brought her home, as we were struggling to put my daughter to sleep, it took us like 30 to 40 minutes to do so. When she finally fell asleep, we very tightly walked into our and sat down. And I looked at my wife and I asked, I have a question for you. And what I've learned is that it's a bad way to start a conversation. And I looked at her, I'm like, I want to discuss freedom. And she looked at me and just gave me a look of death. But when we started talking about it, that exact situation for us, and the things that we needed to make real clear, and we took us back and analyzed our situation. How can we match with what we want? And we started with our money. How we really were drained. And the next question we had, what things we wanted to prove next. Whether we want a better couch, or save money for our table, or move to a better apartment, or if we wanted a flat screen TV. But we also had a lot of debt. We were both 20s, and we had student loans plus $18,000 for consumer debt. And the debt and the money I spent for the ring, car loans, student loans. And we were teasing how we were out shopping for debt. And now we were looking for a house. And we were busy. My wife just started a kindergarten job as a teacher. So we were looking for a house as well. So then we started analyzing how we can change that. And so later my daughter had a list. That it was a list of the things you needed to get. A car, a TV, a house. And the list kind of picked you. But for us, we asked what freedom wanted for us. And were people willing to ask that of you? So this list. So in school, we are taught how to learn. In middle school and elementary school. And so when we entered into high school, then we knew that were grades really, for the grades, they were good, you go into college. And then you would then you would jump into more debt. And then when you're done, you have this piece of paper, a diploma that promised a good job, good paying job. And when that was finished, then you could get an apartment, fill it with things. Maybe you could get a husband or a wife, kids, a job, and improve the house. And then that would keep on going until you're about 30 or 40 years old. And then you would finally retire. And that's not a wrong idea. But if you don't want that, my wife and I sat down and we saw that the list, we weren't satisfied with that, so we started talking about what we wanted to do. We really analyzed ourselves, and we were going to try this again. All the awful things we were going to just wipe clean and start fresh anew. And then so we decided to sell everything but two backpacks, and then pay off our $18,000 in consumer debt. And then what we were going to do is we were going to backpack across Australia. And the point is, our family. So there's a picture of our family last year, and my daughter Mulligan is sitting in an airplane next to me. So that year, from the conversation to that picture, that year between was a tough year. We really analyzed the picture of what we wanted to see. And the goal was to change a lot of habits we've had. And then when we got into the airplane, we had 2 backpacks full of stuff, things we really wanted. We had no debt, and then we went to Australia. And we started from Chicago to LA, and then we flew to Sydney, and then when we landed in Sydney, we took off again to another town in Australia. It was a 28-hour flight with a 1-year-old. Never again, we said. We have pictures of how we looked, but we promised each other that people wouldn't see that. But I can show you pictures and pictures of myself and my backpack and my kids, who's in the back. In that picture, it was off the coast of an island where we stayed, and we stayed in a hotel. And we went for a 30-minute hike, and we saw wallabies and another animal and kangaroos. And as we were walking, we came up to a T, and as I was looking, I had this feeling. It just kind of hit me. This is exactly what we had dreamt of. We had a list. We still have areas that we are clueless in as we're traveling, but it was worth the ups and downs of it. And the 2 of us were in control of our lives. Now understand, not everyone here wants to sell everything and take 2 backpacks and go to Australia. But understand, that was our vision 3 years ago. And now know that you need to know what your kind of freedom is. And we can start today to do that. If you start today, if you go home, it's a home picture of a garage filled with the 3-car garage full of things. And it's just full. So our question is if the person gets fired and didn't have a job and had to move to a different town, what happened with the change of their body and emotions and their list and different things that would in their lives? Is it better to be stuck and just hold there? They don't have the ability to change and to adapt to if they have to leave. And if they make the travel and there's this area, a storage area that we put a bunch of stuff in. Now then we can start over again. And then we have 22 billion. Wow, it's a lot. And so if you take people and you every man, woman, child, and stand them next to each other, it would cover the U.S. Same for the storage areas. Why do we hold on to things? And then we go buy new. So we try to find, we buy a lot of things to see if that will make us happy as we're chasing things. And then we can view as successful or not, depending on how much stuff we have. If we have a nice apartment, if our garage is full, our identity is connected with our physical things. But understand, people can be surprised on how much you know more than things. And that can provide a safety. But it was quite the opposite. My wife and I, as we're selling things, we were asked this question if we ever sold anything that we wanted back. Or if we were ever upset about selling certain things. As I'm telling the story and looking back, the answer is always the same, no. We would just sell it and that was it. And as we're continuing selling, we felt more of being safe. It was quite the opposite. As we were selling things and cleaning and moving things out, our burden, we didn't felt so much of a burden anymore. We were quite relieved. We could do more things. We had a sense of freedom. And nothing really held us back, especially our physical things. Not only that, but our view of people in general and their identity should be found through experience, not collecting things, but having a full experiences. That's where our identity should be found. For myself, as we were planning our experiences, we didn't have anything to owe. And the American dream is that people could have an America and focus on the world as they work and have a wonderful life. So the kind of main problem is people and how they're at one level with their jobs. But if you want more money, you spend less. And if you work less, you need to spend less. It's that simple. So about 20 or 30 years ago, I would often tease ourselves and we would add more problems. So as you work, you can still buy things, and how we need that. So we have this idea that we can buy things and have a good life, and then we can have normal things. But to be exact, in about 30 years, we're still doing everyday things. So how we're justifying things is that if we work now, we can still buy things and just pay them off later. But we still have to go to work. But it would be nice if we liked our job. But a lot of times it's the opposite. People don't like their jobs. So it's changed. Now it's debt. So people have, there's three things that people do. They work long hours at a job they hate, and they have their stress. So the stress lasts for a long time. So they work their job they don't like, and they go buy and have the debt, and they buy and they're paying off for the years later. And so they kind of work through the stress. They eat or go buy, and those two often work. So they work and they just hate their jobs, and they went to the store and they buy different things. Clothes, things, gadgets, vacations to warm places, and they don't have the money for that, so now they're in debt, and they have to pay back, so they have a means of escape. So we saw it's kind of an endless cycle of doing it again and again and again. People stay there. My message is today, it's your life, it's not worth staying and doing it every day. But there's this man that said this quote, there's many things that will become sad and depressing. So if you have a 1 hour on your job that you don't like, and you go buy things you don't need to impress people you don't like, when I heard that, I was in shock. And it hurts to say again, but it's true. So I have this idea. It's your life. Fill it with... So I have an idea for now. And I promise you can, if you start collecting experiences and not things, if you have this idea of how this person can lead your life, if you take out and your responsibilities of your debt, and you envision this world, and where everyone wakes up not to an alarm clock and wake up drowsily, but excited to go to work, to a job they love, and they're excited about their business and their support, and they cherish it, and they're motivated. The problem is, it's complicated, it's short and easy if you take out the things, the everyday debt, and you do more freedom to work at a job you like. That way, it provides safety. And it will make you happy. It's easy. And I've observed you knowing that it frees people and they can do it quick. So, and you know how it frees people when they're walking in this world. So what does freedom mean to you? And how can we use the gift what we can do with it? We can start, so we have this one question we started with. What does freedom look like to you? And so it's the one answer that can change your life. Your answer is uniquely yours, and how you can change the world if you decide what you want to do, and how the world can, not what the world can tell you. So you go ahead and pick. It's your idea. You can share it. Thank you.